actually going to back up a bit in your book. Somehow I missed our Pythagorean theorem lesson, which is a pretty important lesson that we'll see in algebra and trigonometry and calculus and all of those things. So we're going to back up a few lessons and talk about Pythagorean's theorem. A couple of things you need to know. The formula for Pythagorean's theorem is a squared plus b squared equals c squared. Now, Pythagorean's theorem only works on a right triangle, which we know a triangle is a right triangle based on that little box in there. It means it's a 90-degree angle. A and B are the legs, and it doesn't really matter if you go up and down for A or side to side for A, as long as they're the legs. The only one that has to be a specific part of a triangle is C, and that's called your hypotenuse. That is the leg that is directly across from the right angle. That has to be your C. A and B are legs. C is your hypotenuse. And a man a long time ago, whose last name was Pythagorean figured out that if I take the value of A and square it and add it to the value of B and square it, it equals the value of C squared. So Pythagorean's theorem is a squared plus b squared equals c squared, where a and b excuse me, are the legs and c is the hypotenuse. Now let me show you how we're going to use this, and it really is pretty simple. So here's the problem that we're going to be given. You're going to be given a triangle, and the reality is it will tell you it's a right angle, or it will have a box, well, a straight box drawn. And you're going to just use a squared plus b squared equals c squared. That's a terrible 2. And you're going to plug in. Remember, a is a leg, b is a leg, and c is the hypotenuse. And you're just going to plug those values in. So, oh goodness, hold on. Oh, good gracious. Okay, you know what that means. A squared plus b squared equals c squared. And I just plug that in. A squared plus b squared equals, and in this case, the c is x squared. And we just work through and solve this for x. So step 1, exponents. 8 squared plus 8 squared is 40. Oh, goodness. 8 squared is 64. 6 squared is 36. Then I add those together and I have 100 equals x squared. Now I'm not finished yet because x is not by itself. Technically x is squared. So to get rid of that squared, we have to do the inverse. And the inverse of squaring is square rooting. So you're going to square root both sides. And obviously the square root of 100 is 10. And the square root of x squared, remember squaring and square rooting are opposites. They undo each other. So you have 10 equals x, and that is it. So that means the length of this leg is 10. All right, let's do another one. So let's look at this one. And this one's slightly different in that our x is not our hypotenuse. Our x is one of our legs. So we're still going to use a squared plus b squared equals c squared. In this case, though, my b is going to be my x. So a squared plus b squared equals c squared. And I just start walking through now and solving for x. So step 1 is my exponents. 3 squared is 9. 5 squared is 25. Now I need to move this 9 over. When I move it over, it becomes minus 25 minus 9 is 16. To undo my x squared, I square root it. Square root of x squared is x. It undoes itself. Square root of 16 is 4. So in this case, the length of x is 4. And y'all, that is it to Pythagorean's theorem. Let's do one more. I think the x is in the other spot. All right. A squared plus b squared equals c squared. So x squared, it's replacing our a. 7 is our other leg. So 7 squared, and 25 is the hypotenuse. Remember, the hypotenuse is the one directly across from that right angle. And I should have put that right angle there when I made this lesson, but I did not. So now I just start working through. 7 squared is 49. 25 squared is 625. So a squared plus b squared equals c squared. Now, I need to get rid of my 49, so I'm going to move it over and subtract. And 625 minus 49 is 576. And thank the Lord for calculators, because I would have no idea what this answer was. Square root both sides. X equals 24. And that's it, guys. Pythagorean's theorem is super easy. For homework, I want you to do numbers 1, 2, and 3 from lesson 122. They're all going to be Pythagorean's theorem. And that's it for this one.